Hey, good evening, everybody. Before I go to bed, it's late, to me anyway. I wanted to talk a little bit about um, recovery. Recovery from, well, like I said, I know brain injury pretty well because I've lived it. And, you know, we all have this road we're going on, and depending on where you're injured, depending on how you actually come back. Um, some people can wake up from a coma, and it's amazing to see some people actually not have such an interruption in the brain. It's amazing. You know, I, I'll repeat, I had, for one of my accidents in 2001, I had bleeds, and in 2011, I had a concussion. But it's amazing to know and understand the process of people coming back, because you do come back in a certain order, though it depends how severe your brain injury is. When you wake up, you're at a certain level, and your brain pretty much seems to wake up in a certain pattern, which kind of fascinates me. But I was looking at the way I woke up, and I have been aware of everything that has lit up and everything that's come back. And as I've talked to people, some people are further back than me, but yet I pushed certain factors to achieve, like with speech therapy. I had an impediment after the accident. There was a certain resonance that came into my voice, and I pushed harder on the speech therapy. One of my vocal cords was paralyzed. I got it done paralyzed, and changed the diet again. That certain nasally odd cloud, even with talking, has dissipated. I seem to be clearer with talking and getting things out. And plus, of course, cognitive therapy, but that worked better now with change of diet. But it fascinates me that there is a certain pattern as you come back that your brain can retrieve how to progress, how to keep going, how to give you back these abilities. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I got back everything, but from the concussion, from that second accident, that, because it's fascinating to find out the different areas where exactly all these things are and what each thing does. And the ventricles are over the limbic, and I've already had a bleed in the limbic, so the ventricles are like the casing over. It seems that the abilities, which that's a lot of memory, came back intact, yet the bleeds, there's still things that are holding me back. But that's what fascinates me, because people with stroke, because my pattern of the bleeds is similar to a stroke. But I didn't have the facial. But yet I felt a little numbness on sides of my face at times. It was more towards possibly gluten or food. I never had an actual droop, though I thought it was there. It was a very strange transition. So, I mean, those abilities, that achievement, again, we're not cookie cutter cutouts. So someone could have a similar brain injury as I do, but yet be different because everybody's different. You know, I look at the world a lot different than you'll look at the world. But it just is really incredible how the brain actually works and what you can achieve and what you can gain back if you put the time in. But again, I'm just one who goes beyond. You know, even when I was working, being a social worker, I used to encourage people in a nursing home to continue with their therapies and stuff. So it was second nature for me to do that, to be that overachiever, to enjoy it, to want to get further. And then seeing people around me not. I mean, where I'm living now, there are people that are so clouded and they don't have any motivation to get better. They have no motivation to even try to experiment with eating better, to achieving something. They just want to sit and complain, and they have that certain blankness, that certain, you know, I looked at my driver's license because I recently reinforced it, and I looked at all my old ones, and I can see in the pictures even that spark of life that came now compared to what it was when I was sick and I lost a lot of weight. When I was on Topamax, I was on a really high dose and antidepressants, but with Topamax I did lose weight, but I was sick, so I was very white, very like pale. But then the next one, I gained a little back, and then but it progressed, and I can see the life coming back, which is incredible if you look at pictures from when you first were injured to now. Years later, you can see something. You can see something that you regained, that life. I mean, everybody has a process, but everybody also progresses. So you can get further than you are. You just have to sit down and see where your deficits are. You know, get into therapy. Anybody can get into therapy to get help. Try cognitive therapy. Try biofeedback. You know, see, and if you can't afford it because your insurance doesn't cover it, then you have the brain injury fund. And each state has that. So, which is incredible. It's incredible to see that there are opportunities. There's the Brain Injury Alliance in each and every state that has so much information. But so many people just kind of give up and seek other people to get that advisement. To, you know, the groups that people go to, sometimes they're just hanging on that group, hanging on that answer from the group, instead of trying to find a way themselves to achieve, to get further. Sure, there are people that if you need help, ask for help. I'm not saying don't do that. But there are things that we can try to achieve ourselves too. You know, we know ourselves better than anybody else does. You know your heart, you know what's not working, but it's figuring out how to make it work, how to make your brain compensate for that part that is not working. And if you can keep going and keep trying, I mean, it is incredible to look back at where you were and where you are now. And, you know, I want to see everybody, I really want to see everybody enjoy life for what it is. There's so many people who don't enjoy who they are and what they do have because other people have more, so they want more. or other people have this that they don't. Oh, I have a disability, so I don't have what this other person has that doesn't have a disability, so, I'm a failure. No, I achieved. I actually was lucky enough to get to my dream job before it was hit. But where am I now? Who am I now? I'm trying to achieve again. I don't know what I'm going to achieve. I don't know what that is that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm taking the steps to become a person again, to me. And the joy of being able to say, hey, you know what? You're not alone, but your walk is different than my walk, and maybe I can give you something to think about, something that maybe you can look at and say, okay, well, if you found this in you, and you found where your injuries are, so therefore, because of those injuries, you worked on each part, maybe I can take apart my injuries too and say, okay, well, I'm not so much of a failure. I'm not stupid. This doesn't work, but this part does work. And I need to get further to be able to think straight, because things get jumbled up. When you get an injury, it comes into your brain and things don't work right. And it's trying to sift through what doesn't work right to try to get a pattern going that you can get your mind to think clearly again. It takes time, and it takes just the right, well, again, I had the breakthrough by this past year just by eating better, knowing that this gluten sensitivity existed that my doctor would have never tested me on. But I found it. I found the fact that I had Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune one. I had no idea even what the heck that was. But all disease, you have to look at that. And it really starts with what you put in your body. I mean, everything is different now. It's not the way it used to be. There's so many different factors in life now. I mean, the food is genetically modified a lot of times, and we don't know anymore when we walk in somewhere what we're breathing in. Something says gluten-free. Is it really gluten-free? I mean, it has specific things that are changed, but you could still react because there could be something else that you don't know you're reacting to if you don't know every single thing. So, going in is good, but sometimes it just doesn't settle with you right, and when you get to know your reactions, hey, then I'm just trying to get through like everybody else, and I sit back and I just look at how the world has changed. But as long as you can get yourself together, you can walk through the world okay and accept it for you. I'm trying to get back into being a human being, so to speak, to be able to be independent and doing things for myself. I don't like being codependent. So, gaining that independence, gaining that almost adulthood, I feel that it's been such an oppression that you're growing up again, which is scary, but yet it is something that you can grasp on as having new experiences, because though things were kind of mixed up and odd when you first got injured, you're reliving things and redoing things that you could make better now, which is kind of cool, that you are a different creation, a different person, so you can correct the things that have gone wrong before. So I look at it as a second opportunity. And how many people get that and look at the world like that, that you have a second opportunity to make a difference, to make your life, to love, to accept. The world can just open up for you. So it's just something that I have found that survival, it's very difficult to look at your life and know that, yeah, parts were taken away, not by your hand, not by your control, but how much was given back, and tenfold in different ways. And sure, you could sometimes have these much more horrible deficits physically and emotionally and mentally. But part of life is accepting what has happened and what are you going to do with it? What is the next step? That's the challenge. It's a challenge when you walk into a room. It's a challenge when you get behind the wheel in a car. Every day is a challenge, but it's a matter of looking at what you have, the abilities you have, and what you can do with it. You know, every disease, every condition, everything has some kind of protocol that you can go by. And the internet, the one thing great about it is you can look up any protocol. You can look up diet related to brain injury to make it better. What supplements to use with the brain to make it better. Diabetes the same way. MS the same way. There's so many different opportunities. So it's a matter of taking a step and looking into it. And it's not really more expensive. It's just the trade-off of what you're going to get to replace the things you used to eat, the things you used to do. So you can afford to make a change. It just is making the change and transitioning fully and making those right choices, but it's worth it. It really is. I mean, I can tell you from experience, it's worth it. So just keep going and just keep moving and just keep believing that you'll get through your days and there is a bright light at the end of the tunnel. You may not be perfect, but who's perfect? Nobody. But you can smile and be happy and be settled and get everything to calm naturally. That can happen. So I hope everybody has a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow.